So you want to start a print-on-demand business. At least I assume that's why you're here. And I don't blame you. It is a pretty great business model, so let's talk about it. The print-on-demand business model is one that has truly changed my life. As I'm recording this, I have been selling on Etsy for about 10 months, and to date, I have sold over $70,000 in revenue, which is over $20,000 in profit. Now, this is just extra money for me. This is just extra money that I have earned as I've created my business while working a full-time job, just spending pockets of my time early in the morning or late at night and on the weekends to create this side income for myself. Of course, this is just my experience with print on demand. There are many others who have earned even more and well beyond what I have thus far. If you're new to my channel, my name is Taylor and I am an Etsy and print on demand business owner as well as coach. My goal here on my channel is to inspire and show you how this business model can be done by truly anyone, and it can change your life as well. Here on my channel, I share analytic videos discussing my print on demand business as well as helpful tips, tricks, and tutorials like this to motivate and teach you along the way. If you're not familiar with print on demand, the way this business model works is you partner with a print company such as Printify. You create designs for any of the products within Printify's catalog, and then you would upload those designs to your chosen product on Printify's website. Then as you create those products, they are going to be synced over to your Etsy shop, and when a customer purchases your product on Etsy, because you're integrated with Printify receives that order information, and your item will then be made, packaged, and shipped directly for you. So you do not have to do any of the physical work in creating the product or holding large amounts of inventory. You are really just there for any customer service related questions and communication with your customers. In this video, we are going to walk through step by step how to open your Etsy shop, create your Printify account, create your first product in Printify, and list that product on Etsy. Now I have exciting news. Printify was super kind to provide me with 100 discount codes for you watching to get 30 days free of Printify Premium, which is their subscription plan that gives you up to a 20% discount on the products within their catalog. I personally am a customer of Printify. I pay for Printify Premium and I have their yearly subscription. It truly pays for itself as you're making sales on Etsy with the discounted product prices that you receive. So I highly recommend it, and I'm so excited that 100 of you are going to get 30 days free of that. The code for that is TaylorPOD, so be sure to click the link in the description and enter that code into Printify before it runs out. This video aligns with my POD Kickstart free mini course where I do go a layer deeper on these topics discussed in this video, as well as discuss other topics such as pricing strategies, Etsy ad strategies, and more. So I do recommend after you watch this video, head down to the description box where you will be able to find the link to that free mini course. This video is also part 1 of a 3-part series here on my channel. And in part 2, we are going to walk through step by step how to do keyword research and create SEO for our listings. And in part 3, we are going to walk through step by step how to do design research and create a best-selling design. This video is going to be jam-packed with information as well as this entire series. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already done so that you don't miss part 2 and 3. And if you're watching this well into the future, I will have added those links in the description as those videos have been uploaded also. So I hope you've gotten yourself comfortable. Make sure you grab a notebook if you want to take notes, but without further ado, let's dive into it. What I'm gonna do is scroll down to the bottom where we will see the Sell on Etsy button. And so it's going to ask for my email. So I'm gonna go ahead and type that in and click continue. Next, it needs my first name and a password, and we'll click register. Okay, so welcome, let's do this. Etsy is going to ask me some questions to learn more about me. So what brings you to Etsy? What you put for these questions doesn't necessarily make a difference in how your Etsy shop will grow or do business or make sales. This is more so for Etsy to understand who you are, what your goals are, what you may need help with, so that they can send you some targeted emails to give you resources for those needs, wants, goals. So our shop preferences, I am going to leave this as is, but you're going to want to make sure to set that accordingly for where you are and if you have a different currency. And then the next step is to name our shop. So I'm gonna go ahead and type in my name, and my name's taken. That happens sometimes. So let's see what we can do. Okay, no special characters. What else can we do? Let's think here. Maybe we'll add an X. Perfect, that's available. And the next step is we're gonna create a listing. So this listing is meant to be our trash listing. It is not something that we are gonna keep in our Etsy store. And so with that being said, I'm gonna just upload a blank image and I'm gonna fill in any of the information required. It is required if it has an asterisk next to it. So I'm gonna just give it a title, tell some information about this listing, choose its category, we'll call it a tote bag, and scroll down. It does need a description, so I'll just say my first listing to get started. Continuing down again, I need to set a price. It has to be over 20 cents because that is what the listing fee is. So I'm gonna make this 20 cents. We need to enter in some shipping information for it. Later in this video, as we get into creating our first real listing, I will share information about shipping profiles and how to get those set up properly. And once we have all of the necessary information in, we can just hit save and continue. And perfect, we've created our first listing. We do not want to add more listings. We will do that later. When a customer purchases your product on Etsy, you will pay Printify first so that the product can be made, and often second, you receive your payment from Etsy from the customer's purchase. The difference between what your customer pays and what you pay for the production of the item gives you your profit. So it's important to be pricing your products properly. There are a ton of free pricing calculators that you can use online. I've linked my favorite one in the description for you to utilize. With that being said, you will need to be prepared with some form of payment for the production of your items when you make sales, as you will front the cost for the product. So you could pay for the product with your own money out of your bank account, or what I recommend is opening a business credit card as well as a business checking account. This keeps your transactions separate from your personal banking. So we need to enter some information about ourselves for tax purposes. You can select whether you are an individual or a business. It is also something that can be changed later. So as you grow and scale your Etsy and print on demand business later down the line, you may feel that you are best suited to register that business potentially as an LLC. And that is something that you could talk with a professional about to see if that would be right for you. And the last step on this screen is we are going to connect our bank account via Plaid. Once that loads up, we're gonna just click continue, and you can choose how you'll link your bank account, whether you want to do instant, which will require you to log into your bank account, or you can do manual, where you'll enter in that account routing number and account number. Either way is fine, and we are connected. Perfect. Now that we have all that information in, we're gonna continue. So how you'll get paid, you've already put in your banking information so that you can receive those funds. Now you need to determine how often you want to receive those funds. It can be daily, once per week, bi-weekly, monthly. There are plenty of options for you to choose from, and you need to set up billing. So in case you accrue any type of fees from Etsy, they're going to want you to pay them. Ways that you will acquire fees is through listing fees. It is 20 cents to list an item on Etsy. You also are going to be paying payment and processing fees, which if you're pricing your items accordingly, so utilizing that pricing calculator that I shared with you guys, that does take into account those payment and processing fees and relisting fee for each item sold. So again, pricing your items accordingly so that you aren't left with a bill from Etsy of things that you need to pay. That would mean that you are at a profit loss if you have a separate bill after you have made a sale. The other thing that you may acquire a bill for is if you opt in for Etsy ads. That is something that you can choose your budget for. And what's really great about Etsy ads is they are PPC, or pay per click. What that means is you do not pay anything for that ad unless an individual clicks on it. And our shop is open for business. I went ahead and added in some shop branding. I wanted to take a moment to talk about shop branding because it is something that I talk about a lot with my coaching students and the importance of it, especially as a new shop and new seller on Etsy. So what I'm referring to with shop branding is your shop banner, shop logo. Branding elements can also be included in your color charts, size charts, any type of info card that you're including in your listings. Common info cards are things like your policies as far as returns and exchanges, shipping time, really any type of card that gives your customer information about the product that you're selling, I refer to as an info card. Info cards are a really great, valuable asset for your conversion rate on Etsy. Don't overthink your shop branding. These are templates. I found them on Canva. I tweaked them a little bit just to customize them to my liking. As far as dimensions, in Canva, for your logo, when you click create a design, you can actually just type in logo. It will come up with a logo dimension. It's typically 500 by 500 pixels. And similar for your banner, if you click create a design in Canva and type in Etsy shop hover, it will actually bring up the exact dimensions for the mini banner on Etsy, which is what I have on my shop right now. We are going to go ahead and click sign up. I've entered in my email and password, and I'm going to confirm that I am not a robot. This process is going to be very familiar. It looks a lot like how we went through creating our Etsy account. Printify is going to ask us some targeted questions as well. And again, this is just so that they can understand you as a seller. They want to understand what your goals are, what you are looking to achieve. So again, they can help you and provide you with some resources to get you the information that you need to achieve those goals. After those questions, we are going to start by connecting our store to Printify. We want to make sure that we are properly integrated. It's super easy to do. I'm going to just click connect. And as you can see, there are tons of options besides Etsy that you can actually connect to. I know it is very common in the print-on-demand space to create a Shopify store. So if that is something that was of interest to you, you could still utilize Printify with Shopify as well as Walmart. Printify now has pop-up shops, which is a new feature, as well as you can use eBay, Squarespace, Wix, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, and PrestaShop. If you are not familiar with some of these different platforms, Printify is going to give you a little bit of information about those and what or who they may be best for. And just like that, we are integrated. All right, so now that we're integrated, we are going to go ahead and dive into our store setting. First thing, it's just asking for your store name. So you could go ahead and type in your store name there and click save. And then the next tab is the ship from address. You can brand your packaging by adding your company address and a phone number. If you leave it on Printify default, what will happen is if there is ever a return to sender, and so if you have Printify as that default, it is going to send the item back to where it was printed. Or you could do custom address, and that would be where you enter in the address that you want those items sent back to, as well as you could add your business name or Etsy shop name so that it shows that it is coming from your Etsy shop. That really is just your personal preference. I know many people don't want to put their personal address, and that's where a PO box can be beneficial as well. The next tab for our preferences, order routing, is where Printify will automatically send your order to an alternative print provider if the original item is unavailable. So if you weren't familiar, Printify is essentially a network of print providers. They provide you with a multitude of different print providers that you can choose to use to print your products. The great thing about that is when an item becomes out of stock, you can do what's called order routing. What's important to know about order routing is you can enable automatic order routing or you can do it manually. I recommend to do order routing manually. The reason being, not all print providers are necessarily going to be your favorite. You are going to have ones that you prefer more than others because of shipping time, because of pricing. There can be a vast number of reasons. Now, if you are somebody who wants this business to be as hands-free as possible, that is where order routing would benefit you. Scrolling down, the other thing to take a look at is order approval. And with order approval, you have a couple different options for how you would want your orders to be approved as they come through to Printify. So when a customer makes a purchase on Etsy, once it syncs over to Printify, you can either manually approve that order by clicking Submit Order in your Orders tab. You can also set it to a couple different automatic order approval options. First being the order is automatically submitted after 1 hour of being received, 24 hours after being received, or a set time each day that you could push all of those orders through automatically. If you were to go automatic, I would recommend setting it for a time each day. The reason being is this will just be one single charge per day. So that way you do not have multiple transactions. And then the last settings that we can take a look at, first being tracking notification settings. So if you would like to receive tracking emails, this might be great in the beginning so that you can go ahead and confirm information with your customer. Again, providing really great customer service. That part's on you. Etsy will send them a tracking number and notification as soon as that item has shipped from Printify, as Printify will send all of that information over to Etsy, and so it's an automatic process. However, it's great for you to be aware of tracking so that you can reach out to your customer after the item has been delivered and hear their feedback. The last thing is automatically sending delayed orders to production. Orders that are delayed for different shipping restrictions. This is something that you would want to, again, determine if you want this process to be manual or automatic. And the last thing that I'm actually going to touch on is branding. So you could create a card that could be printed in all of your orders, maybe providing a thank you. You could include a discount code for the buyer, give them some incentive to return and make another purchase. However, this will come with a cost. As I'm recording this, it's still free at the moment as this is a new feature. It is free until October of 2023. So you have your Etsy shop, you have your Printify account, they are integrated together, you're ready to create a product. But before you ever create a product, it is vital that you do your keyword and product research as well as your design research. It is exciting to list products, and that can be fun part, creating designs, creating items. However, we need to make sure that what we are creating is backed by research so that we can create a listing that's set up for success. It's optimized for Etsy. Those are the types of listings that are going to get sales. So with that being said, that is why this video is part 1 of a 3-part series. In part 2, as I mentioned, we are going to be going through that keyword research, creating SEO, everything that you need to know about that. And then in part 3, we're going to be doing the same thing, but for design. So conducting that design research, creating a design, and everything you need to know about that. Those are very full topics in themselves, and I wanted to give them their own dedicated videos because I want them to be as detailed and valuable as possible. Now, after you have completed your keyword research and your design research, it's time to create your product. So in this tutorial, we are going to design for a t-shirt. I am going to do the Bella and Canvas 3001. So after you choose your product type, you are going to be able to select your print provider. So as I mentioned earlier, Printify is really just the umbrella over multiple different print providers. As you look at the different print providers, they do all have these star ratings next to them. So that is going to be an indicator as to how their performance has been recently. These scores do change. Feedback is provided if they begin to have more issues and misprints and shipping issues. These scores will will be updated, as well as the information as far as if the prices change. Every now and then the shipping costs change as well, and average production time. So it's great to see that as well, as that's going to be important as we create our shipping profile when we get over to Etsy. Now, I am specifically going to look for a print provider in the US. Majority of my customers and majority of shoppers on Etsy are going to be mainly in the US. And so that is why I am going to select a US print provider. So for our shirt, I'm going to go ahead and click Start Designing with Swift POD. And this is what it will look like when you are in the designing screen. This dotted line is going to represent the print area of the shirt, and we can select where we're looking to add our design as well. So if we wanted to put our design on the front, we would want to make sure we're on the front side. We could do back prints. Something that is very popular amongst apparel right now is doing actually a back print with a front pocket design. So putting just a small graphic in the pocket area of the shirt. And with Swift POD, you also can add design to the sleeve. So we're going to go back to the front of our shirt. And if you guys remember with our shop branding, I had a sample image of a shirt. And so I'm actually going to pull over that graphic. What I really like to look at here is the resolution. We want this to say high resolution. Now, I am using an SVG for this graphic. However, there is also a PNG of this graphic from the design bundle that I got. This is just right off of Creative Fabrica. And I want to upload that really quick just so you can see the difference. And when I upload this graphic, you can see that the PNG that I got from Creative Fabrica is 165 DPI. And so if you can imagine a inch by inch little square on this shirt, in that inch by inch square, that's where the DPI comes into play. So there is going to be 165 dots per inch in this design. And so the higher the DPI for the resolution, it's going to make it a much higher quality, nicer looking print. And so we want to be mindful of that. So with PNGs, you're typically looking to export these types of designs at 5,000 by 5,000 pixels. That will generally keep you around 300 DPI, which is going to be a much higher resolution image. Now, when placing a design on apparel, think about where the armpit is of a shirt. And if you're wearing a t-shirt, this is a really great way to get an idea of where the design placement may be. As far as the width of the graphic, I tend to keep it as big as possible. So we can go ahead and preview this item. And so with the preview, I like to come over here after I feel good about my design placement and just verify that it is where I want it to be. I generally like to look at the mock-ups with people, as I feel like I can get a better idea of what the design looks like, and that looks great to me. I'm happy with the placement of that. Another thing that we can do is select different colors. So I definitely want to offer this on white. Maybe I also want to offer this on athletic heather. That is a very popular choice. So is natural. Maybe I want to offer that color option as well. Now that we have our colors, we are happy with our design placement. We are going to save that product. Now there's some things that we're going to want to fill out here on this screen before we publish this product and bring it over to Etsy. First being the titles. Before we've gotten to this point, we will have already done our keyword research. That keyword research will have given us the information to create our title, as well as a insert for our description that is keyword focused to add more of our SEO there. And in your description, it's great to include as much information about the product as possible. You want to really answer any questions that your customer may have throughout your listing. As far as shipping, we are going to leave it on standard. So next, we are going to assign a shipping profile. And as a new seller and a new shop, I don't have any shipping profiles yet. So what I have to do is automatically assign a new shipping profile. But when we go over to Etsy, I'm going to walk through how to create your shipping profile and how to utilize that as you create new listings. Scrolling down, looking at our pricing, we want to make sure we are pricing our products appropriately. Utilize a profit calculator. Make sure that you're pricing your items accordingly so that you can be competitive, get sales, but also be profitable in your business. So I am actually going to set this a bit higher. I'm going to bump this up to 45%, and that looks good to me. Again, in my POD Kickstart mini course, I have a whole module talking about pricing strategies. So we're going to continue to scroll down. We have some different publishing settings. We don't need to pay attention to this product visibility. This is just if we wanted to publish the product but keep it hidden in our store. With this variant visibility, this is referring to all of the different sizes and color options that you offer in this shirt. There's a couple different ways that you could go about this. It is automatically set to only showing the in-stock variants and hide any out-of-stock variants. So if an item goes out of stock, it does not show that it is available in your Etsy store. If we remember earlier in the video when we were talking about order routing, we know that we can route our order to a different print provider who does have that item in stock. What I do recommend is this top option, and that is what I tend to utilize, and that is show all variants as available for purchase. This will allow you to accept any order regardless of stock status. And the last section is our product details and what we are going to sync over to Etsy. You do not have to sync Printify's mockup. So we're going to go ahead and hit publish, and this is going to publish this listing over to Etsy. This process happens relatively quick, and the next part is going over to Etsy just to finalize our listing. Coming over to Etsy, I have gone into my shop manager and clicked listings, and we can see that our listing has synced over from Printify. So now we're going to fill in the details for this listing. The first thing that I want to do is upload my mock-up image. In your listing photos, it should consist of mock-up images for your product as well as info cards. Depending on the product type that you chose, will reflect on the type of info cards that you include. For apparel, you're going to want to include a size chart and a color chart. And again, I highly recommend utilizing Canva to create these shop info cards. It really pulls your shop all together and just gives a much more professional appearance. You can also go directly on Etsy, and there are many sellers who sell size chart, color charts. Again, making them in Canva is free. It doesn't take that much time, and you can get all of the information that you need as far as the sizing directly on Printify. I would upload all of those images, and the next thing I would want to do is adjust my thumbnail to best represent my product. Common mistake I see people do is they zoom in far too much. So something that I'm often seeing as I'm coaching my students is their mock-up images look something like this. And we really want to showcase the product. If it's too zoomed in, I don't really know what the product is. Really let the mock-up do the selling for you. We want it to be close enough that we can see the design. I'm going to go ahead and click save. Printify will have already filled in a lot of these listing details for us, which is extremely helpful. However, we want to fill in anything else that we can. You can fill in information about the sustainability of the item, if there is any relevant attributes. We can choose sleeve length and neckline, which with apparel, I recommend you do. You can pick clothing style. There's tons of different categories. If you don't feel it fits into any category, what I recommend is just leave it blank. Occasion, there is again multiple different types of options just to help categorize your item. And holidays, add to items meant specifically for a holiday. For example, a Mother's Day card, not for items that could be gifted for a holiday. For renewal options, I recommend that you keep your renewal on manual. Automatic will automatically renew your listing after 4 months. The reason I advise against that is if a listing hasn't sold in 4 months, I recommend taking a deeper look into that listing and figuring out why it hasn't sold, and then scrolling down. Because we are integrated with Printify, when we uploaded that listing, it automatically created our production partner for us, which this is required by Etsy. We need to make sure that we are showing that we are utilizing a print provider. We could start to create shop sections. So sometimes people will categorize their shop by events or holidays or specific niches, or by the product type if they offer multiple different product types. So again, in part 2 of this series where we talk about SEO, we will talk about how we come up with our tags, and this is where we would put those. The next thing that we're going to scroll down to is our variations. So these were all synced over from Printify. You can see all of the different sizes, colors that we are offering, as well as the SKU number has already been applied to these items. Something I like to point out with our variations is it's great to link photos. You can link photos to specific variations. Typically what I recommend linking photos to is color options. With our mock-up that we included in this listing, the shirt is white. So I'm going to link that to our white variation. I recommend trying to have mock-ups for each of the color variations that you do offer. Here is where we would be able to turn on personalization. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch on here is the shipping profiles. So this is the shipping profile that was automatically imported from Printify. I want to open this up and I am going to rename this. Now, your customer is not going to be able to see the name of this shipping profile, but they will be able to see the location from where the item is being shipped from. Now, I don't like to mess with the processing time. I like to keep that as to what was automatically imported. It's good to keep in mind that we may want to extend this end range when it gets closer to the holiday season, when it gets busier, just so that customers have a realistic expectation about when they can expect to receive their item. And here is all of our information regarding shipping. Now, it's automatically going to import all of this information, and if you would like to ship internationally, you would leave all of this information in. I don't necessarily recommend shipping internationally because when you're shipping internationally, there's a little bit more of a learning curve. There is different rules and regulations and policies that you have to follow. For example, you have to offer returns and exchanges to customers in Europe. It is required by law. I don't recommend shipping to outside of the US. Majority of your customer base is going to be in the US anyway. And then of course you can determine your shipping price as well. That is incorporated with your pricing strategy. But for this tutorial, I'm going to just leave this at the standard that was set by the print provider. So now in the future, when I go to create my next listing, if I'm selling another Bella and Canvas 3001 shirt from Swift POD, I don't have to automatically assign a new shipping profile. I will be able to select this shipping profile that I created over on Printify. This is going to save you a ton of time if there's ever changes in shipping prices and you need to make adjustments in your shipping profile. Now, we don't need to worry about this information right here. This is for international, so I can just go ahead and publish this. Sometimes Etsy gives you this little red error message. It doesn't actually mean that there's something wrong. It just does it. You just have to click it twice and you will get through. So let's go to our shop and look at that. Doesn't that look so good? So we have our shop branding, we have our beautiful banner, logo, and we have our first product listed. I love the way this turned out. This looks fantastic. And I feel that this shop just has a really cohesive look to it. It looks very clean. It looks very professional. And so at this point, we would be good to go to continue listing, creating new products, creating designs, and building out our Etsy and print-on-demand business. As I mentioned throughout this video, there are many resources and many things for you in the description box. So be sure to check that out and you are all set. I hope that you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next one.